Well, it's that time of last year again. I'm here to look at the best games of the year after actually having a good amount of time to play them. I'm not like the Game Awards nominating Miles Morales for awards when it came out like 2 days before the nominees were announced. That's just dumb. 2020 was an absolutely horrible year, but 2019 was pretty good in comparison. Hopefully we can relax and look back at the games we forgot about, only to forget about them in a roughly 11 minutes. Hope you enjoy this video because I'm not sure 10 games came out in 2028 for me to make a video on that year. Also, I'm getting a capture card and new mic soon, yay, but it's not here yet, so this is the last video. I'll have this shitty ass audio, and I'll have to link footage in the description, so group stuff I couldn't get myself. Woo! Hey, remember this game came out? To be honest, I didn't. I kind of forgot about this one until I was looking through what games I played in 2019. Now, that may sound bad, because it is, but hey, the game is pretty fun. Daemon X Machina is a mech game spiritual successor to Armored Core, and if you played a mech game, you know what to expect. The moon fell on Earth, and now there's bad robots, and you kill the bad robots. The mech combat is really fast and smooth, and it's all done in this comic book art style. It's great. This game is ultra overlooked, but shout out to the dev for taking the feedback from the demos and fixing up the game. Apparently, it came out on Steam in 2020 as well. Didn't see anyone talking about that. I don't think this game sold that well. Someone might buy a copy out of pure pity at this point. Wargroove, the Advanced Wars-inspired game from Chucklefish. I'm also proud to announce that Wargroove wins the award for Stupidest Box Spine. Wargroove is the true spiritual successor to Advanced Wars. Like, oh my god, this game has so much content. A full campaign that you can individually change the difficulty in different aspects to make it as easy or hard as you'd like. Local and online multiplayer, a level creator, a super hard challenge mode, an arcade mode, beautiful pixel art, a great soundtrack, so much good content here. There's so much good content here, you can probably wait out with this until Intelligent Systems actually decides to make another real Advanced Wars game. This game is so good and is ultra polished, I just wish I didn't suck so badly at it. Nintendo's online program is pretty bad. Anyone who has played a first-party Nintendo game online will testify that it sucks. There's still no real improvement in the online itself. Nintendo seems to think it's a good idea and invest the millions of dollars they made by just flicking a switch that people pay for online into putting out a couple SNES and NES games every 4 months. But out of everything in this garbage service has brought, there was one great thing. Tetris 99 is one of the stupidest concepts to hear out loud. Tetris Battle Royale sounds like a joke. Then you see the game and you're like, whoa, what? And then you play the game and you're like, I cannot believe this is actually fun. It's Tetris multiplayer with combos, choosing who to target, and strategy. It made for the perfect free game. And they kept updating it with new themes and modes. What started out as a free game is now pretty much a full-on Tetris game. If you ever wanted an official Tetris and Xenoblade crossover, then boy do I have the game for you. They also released a physical edition with a single-player DLC in the year of Switch Online, and that's so stupid I had to get a copy. Concrete Genie, the Sony exclusive to actually try something different. Concrete Genie is a puzzle platformer / stealth game. You use paint to create genies and change the environment. It's such a relaxing game, it's just chill. It's short but sweet. I do think this is one of the best PS4 games that may have been overlooked, but the reason isn't higher is because the last third of the game took everything the game built and threw it out the window. Without spoiling it, it's such a stupid direction they took, completely changing genres. It feels like they didn't just stick with their guns, but only went halfway, so it doesn't really please anyone. I already talked about this game in my PS4 exclusive ranking video, but like, why did they do it this way? Still a really charming game for the first 2/3, but man, that ending knocked it down a good chunk. Shovel Knight, King of Cards, the final part of the 5-year-long journey of Shovel Knight. While it may not be my favorite campaign, that one's still going to Spectre Knight, it's still really good. King of Cards stars King Knight on his journey to become a king and a member of the Order of No Quarter, taking place before the events of the first Shovel Knight. This may be DLC, but by all accounts, this is a brand new game. It's so much a new game that they sell the campaigns individually for $10 each. The levels have all been redesigned for King Knight's new moveset, which takes some inspiration from Wario Land while still entirely feeling like its own thing. It's also got its own card game, which is super fun on its own. On the same day as King of Cards, we got Shovel Knight Showdown, which is disappointment. You can still find fun in it, but it's definitely the weakest part of Shovel Knight for me. This mode could get a video by itself. Overall, if you haven't played Shovel Knight yet, how the fuck have you not? I'm so glad it was here since the start of this game when I first played it 5 years ago on the Wii U. I can't wait to see what Yacht Club does next. Their next game looks incredible. Katana Zero, the game's so cool it got temporarily banned in Australia. Katana Zero is a 2D hack and slash where you can slow down time. The control here is so good that it's one of the only 2D games you should use an analog stick instead of a D-pad for. This game has one of the coolest physics engines I've ever seen, let alone for a 2D game. Objects just fly around, things can bounce off each other and interact, every piece of debris and blood is independent. It's just incredible to see in action. One thing I really appreciate about Katana Zero is that when you slow down time, you do just that, slow down time. So everything you can do in slow down time, you can do in normal time too. So if you're really good enough, you can just reflect that bullet, roll behind that guy, throw a knife at that guy above you, reflect another bullet to finish the last guy off, all without slowing down. This game is a speedrunner's dream, and thankfully there's a speedrun mode of built-in splits and other options. There's a really compelling story here, a great soundtrack, and supposedly the first of one of 3 big updates is coming in early 2021, so I cannot wait for whatever that has to offer. Mario Maker 2 is Mario Maker 1 except better, and that's all it really needed to be. Mario Maker 1 was a really community-driven game, and it was a shame that it was on a console that most people don't even know exists. Mario Maker 2 practically exploded when it came out. They added slopes, Mario 3D World as a style, Mario 2 as a power-up, night stages, Link, anti-gravity, and best of all, Spike. Just a nice game to play, it's relaxing, while also being terrifying if you're into stepping on shattered glass. The only real complaint I have is that they got rid of some stuff from Mario Maker 1, like amiibo costumes, the fly swatter minigame. That's about all I can remember from the Wii U version. It also sucks they're taking the original offline in March 2021, but overall, it's fun. Risk of Rain 2 is essentially a reboot of the first Risk of Rain, but now in 3D. While that sounds pretty boring, it turns out to actually be the best thing that Gearbox Publishing has ever helped make. So many roguelites just have you spend so much time trying to collect upgrades, just drags the whole thing out. In Risk of Rain 2, you spend maybe 2 minutes as the weak, defenseless guy. By the 10-minute mark, you're being a pure death. The game is just so fast and fun, you get power-ups constantly, the power-ups can stack, and eventually you get in these situations where you're so powerful but always close to death, because the game is not very easy. There's so many different classes. You got the Commandos, your standard guy, but then you got the Huntress, whose arrows lock onto enemies and can bounce off each other if they're close enough. The Engineer, who can build sentries and drones, and eventually have an army of war machines just mowing down everything. You got the Mercenary, who's a fast melee sword user, which is super challenging but super satisfying. Combine all of this with interesting non-intrusive lore, an unsettling sci-fi setting, and a fantastic soundtrack by Chris Christodoulou, I think that's how you say it, and you got an absolutely quality game. Good shit. Luigi's Large House Prime Number is a fantastic Halloween-themed ROM. This one is from Next Level Games, the same people brought us the best game ever made, and has references to said best game ever made. I promise I'm not being biased. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on the 3DS was neat and I liked it, but it was obviously not the full potential of what a new Luigi's Mansion could be. 3 takes Dark Moon and ups the ante. They still keep the multiple themes from Dark Moon while still keeping the one giant building from the original. The animation in this game is incredible. Look at this wanky hillbilly ghost. There's way more combat options, the soundtrack is hummable, the multiplayer is fun to laugh at, and there's tons of hidden collectibles and unlockables. It's just such a fun game, perfect to be released on Halloween. So glad this game won New York Central Park's Children's Zoo Award for Best Kids Game. Also, before number 1, apparently there were games that didn't come out in 2019 that are still good games? Huh? Cuphead got ported to Switch in 2019 and was everything I wanted it to be. It's such a good game. Lethal League Blaze also got ported to Switch and is one of the most fun games I have ever played. Seriously recommend this. Castlevania Anniversary Collection came out. It's got Super Castlevania 4 and 7 other pretty good games. Resident Evil 2 Remake came out this year, and by all extensions, it's pretty much a full new game. My Friend Pedro came out. I was considering this one for the list, but I dropped it in favor of Katana Zero. Still a really good game though. Baba Is You made my brain hurt. Square Enix finally checked their dad's garage and found the source code for Final Fantasy VIII, and I have a confession to make, everyone. I main Banjo and Kazooie in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Officer, I can explain. Okay, I was not expecting this to be my top game of the year. I had to play this one because of a project I'm working on. This was my first Fire Emblem game, and to be honest, it was just a really good game. Like, I don't have a specific reason it was particularly better than every other game this year. It was just fun. The branching paths give the game tons of replayability, the characters were memorable, the voice acting is surprisingly good, which I didn't even know that was legal to have that in a video game. The combat I found really engaging. They got rid of the weapon triangle system, but the combat was still really enjoyable, at least for me. Fun fact, I beat this game and 2 days later they revealed Byleth for Smash, and I was still disappointed. For those asking, I went the hidden route. I'm not gonna say which route it is directly because spoilers, but if you know, you know. I didn't even know the route existed, I just fell into it. I'm gonna go more in depth on this game when I finish that big project I mentioned earlier, but for now, as someone that hates RPGs, I was very pleasantly surprised by this game. I think one thing that turns me off from most RPGs is that most of them are like 5,000 tiny battles that don't mean much but still take a lot of time and break up the pace. Well, 3 Houses is 50 big battles, but they take a lot of time and are a lot more rewarding. I had very low expectations, but now it's my 3rd most played Switch game. It's not a masterpiece, but it was a very enjoyable experience for me. Overall, there were no real standout games that came out this year. There was nothing that really shook everything up and was one of the best games ever made or anything. Everything was just really enjoyable. And that's what I like in my games, for them to be enjoyable. All these games trying to be the biggest games ever made, but then you have Katana Zero, which is 10 times more fun and made by one guy. This was just a pretty good year. It was just a normal year, you know, a year where nothing that crazy happened, you know, some downtime for a normal year. Hopefully 2020 will continue to be a normal year, you know? Oh, fuck.